remember in Chicago, I think I probably was in kindergarten, and we was on a school bus, and my mother would put these two big old pom-poms in my head and twist them. I didn't have a pump. She would get them and she would twist it. So they're like Mickey Mouse, and stick a pin in it. And I would get on the bus and I would be like, this is terrifying. This is horrible. Because I went to school with Caucasians. I went to school with whites. And they were on the bus, and I would think, man, they'd be looking at my hair like, and so I would get, by the time I got to school, I would at least unwrap them and take them down and comb them out so I could shake it like they shook their hair, and it made me feel so bad. I felt so bad, and so at that point, I would come home. That's when I started. Now remember, that's when I started. I had to be first grade. Because that's when I snuck in the kitchen and I got a pressing comb. Mm-hmm. And my mother worked. She worked late at night. And so my older sisters would be at home. And I stopped putting the pressing comb through my hair. Okay. I would put the pressing comb through my hair to make it straight. So it can be like the girls on the bus. When I got on the bus, I was distraught. Because my hair wasn't like their hair. And, until I got like maybe in middle school, I hated my hair. I hated my hair because we didn't press. The only time we pressed it was what? Easter. Mm-hmm. Easter, you sit between your mama's legs and she pressed that hair out. And that was the only. Yeah. But I recall that bus scene, and it just it was devastating for me.
I remember rubbing her legs. Wow, Mom. When I was coming up, we would, one of the pastimes was to sit on your front steps. Saturday morning, somebody would get out and scrub the steps with Ajax and water. We'd clean the street. And then if we weren't getting our hair straightened after it dried, we would sit outside on the front step, and you would sit in between your mom's leg, and that wasn't as trying as being subjected to the heat in the kitchen. Her knees would come over my shoulder, and I would just wrap my hands around her legs and rub her legs, and her skin was very soft. And I used to just be mesmerized at how the calf was so thick and muscular, and how it got smaller as my hand went down. And I would just play with her legs.
Well, if she was pressing my hair, I would sit in a chair next to the stove, and she would stand behind me. If she was braiding my hair, I would sit between her legs, and I love the smell of her knees, because I would always wrap my arms around her knees, and she would always smell like Pond's cold cream, because that's what we used. There was no such thing as lotion. I don't know why, but we used cold cream. We always had a big jar in every bathroom cabinet, and her knees and her legs smelled just like cold cream. It was a wonderful smell. And you would kind of bond with her and just kind of hug her legs, and she would do your hair, and it was pretty cozy. Now that I think about it, if she was washing your hair, you would stand over the kitchen sink most of the time.
So it was picture day, and she was with the old term, heavy-handed. So the entire hair experience to me was, why is everyone upset with the hair? Because it was never a caring moment. It was just such a grueling fight that was unnecessary.
Oh, that's a good one. I never thought of that.
Why do we keep the hair so bad? I just don't understand.
That's funny.
Why we are just at the hair like, why? My sister puts my hair in 4 ponytails, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Did not go with my face did not go with the way. It's picture day. I would think you want me to look nice, but why would you just big part? It just doesn't work. It does not work. And then it was a very stressful, again, it's like the hair didn't have a choice. You're going to go in these 4 sections and you're going to lay down, or she's not going to have any skin on her head. And this is before picture day. So, at that point, I guess I was stepping into my own, and, I went to school and, thought about it and self-reflected all the way to school, and, how awful these pictures are going to look, just kind of into myself as I'm an inverted kid, just kind of, wow, what do I do? So I go to the bathroom, and I'm just like, I'm taking my independence today. So I took the 2 that were in the front, combed it back, and put it in the 1. Well, of course, I never combed my hair, so it wasn't quite as neat as it should have been. Mm-hmm. And life went on. My mother never really said anything. I guess my sister didn't notice that I came home with 3 instead of 2 until the photos came home. And it wasn't quite right. And my sister got in trouble because my mom's like, what in the world is going on with her hair? And then at that moment, my sister was like, she didn't go to school like that. And at that time, it's like, well, you guys, it's like, I won't have any hair if you keep doing what you're doing to it. I will be absolutely bald if you keep doing what you're doing to it. And it was just so traumatic to me that it's like, we don't do this to our eyes, our teeth, our lips. Why do we have to be so antagonistic to the hair? Can we just care for the hair a little bit?
7th, 8th, and 9th grade, swimming was required for PE.
Right.
And that was traumatic.
Yeah.
Because you had to take swimming. There was no way to protect the hair. I don't care what kind of swimming cap you purchase.
Right.
And then you go to the rest of the day, the rest of the classes in junior high school, and your hair has turned.
Yeah.
And of course, I grew up in a time when press and curl was the only way for a young lady to have a personal appearance that was considered correct and proper.
Yes.
And wearing naturals was not in vogue when I grew up.
Right.
In the 60s and the late 50s.
Yeah.
59, 60, 61. I graduated in 62. So this was horrendous. This was terrible. Swimming was required. I don't care what kind of swimming cap you bought. It wasn't going to protect your hair from that water getting under the swimming cap. Then you have your other classes after PE. And there you are. Sometimes your hair is wet. And there you're in class. And then, of course, I went to Berkeley High School, which was, of course, a diverse populace. And they're the white girls, no problems with their hair, right? So when I really encountered the problems with, oh my hair, was when I got to junior high school. Elementary school was perfect. There were no problems because, of course, there was no swimming.
Right.
But it was junior high school when the problems occurred because what do I do about my hair?
Right.
And you just really couldn't go home and press it every night when you knew you had to take PE the next day and swimming.
Yes.
And swimming was required. Sometimes it was 5 days a week.
I remember at one point, I may have been in 2nd grade. And like I said, I think maybe my mom was just exasperated with the whole process of keeping my hair maintained. And, and I had difficult hair. And she ended up taking me to the barber shop and I got my hair cut in the afro. Which was really traumatizing to me because little girls don't get their hair cut. Not back then in the early 70s and stuff. The longer your hair, the prettier you were. It could be kinky, it could be nappy, whatever it is, but it had to be long.
So I had a lot of complexes about my hair. And then when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, must have been 3rd, my mom let me get an afro. It was the late 60s and everybody was wearing afros. So I went to this chic beauty parlor, and it was a place actually that my uncle had recommended that he take my mother, or that recommended to my mother. And so I think she, approached my dad about it, and I don't know how my dad really felt about it. He might have had some objections, but I'm sure she convinced him. So I went, and he did some process, and I'm not even sure what he did, but I came out with an afro. So I was wearing an afro in like 3rd and 4th grade. So I'm pretty sure by the time I was in 5th grade, I was still wearing it because we had moved from Chicago to Peoria, which is in, central Illinois. So I loved having an afro. It was a great experience for me.
Oh, wow.
It was a really great experience for me. I felt hip, I felt in, I felt Black and beautiful.
Some rough girls from Rutgers, man. They got tattoos and some hardcore hoes. That's some nappy-headed hoes there. I'm gonna tell you that now. Nappy-headed hoes. Nappy-headed hoes. Nappy-headed.
And it's that internalized racial oppression, I think, that feeds into the struggles that African American women have with their hair. And even African American men had with their hair, with the conch and all that other stuff back in the day. Mm-hmm. Come on, a black man with a conch. I mean, what was with a perm in their hair? What is that? I mean, it can't be anything but internalized racial oppression.
But who invented the hair relaxer? Garrett Augustus Morgan.
Wait a minute. Garrett Morgan? Garrett Morgan, the inventor of the gas mask? Garrett Morgan, the traffic light man? Story has it that Garrett Morgan was experimenting with a liquid lubricant that would give sewing machine needles a high polish and prevent the needle from scorching fabric as it sewed. It is said that he wiped his hands on a wool cloth, returned the next day, and found the woolly texture straightened out. He supposedly experimented on his neighbor's Airedale dog, known for their curly textured hair, and the effect was successfully duplicated. He then tried his formula on himself and called it a hair refining cream, and thus patented the first chemical hair relaxer. He began the G.A. Morgan Hair Refining Company, which manufactured other hair products in addition to his straightening cream. G.A. Morgan's Hair Refiner Cream claimed to positively straighten hair in 15 minutes. He is accredited with inventing a curved tooth pressing comb. He also advertised for agents to canvas his hair care product. With the proceeds made from Garrett Morgan's Hair Refining Company, he funded projects that eventually led to his invention of the gas mask and traffic signal. Madam C.J. Walker, African-American businesswoman, hair care entrepreneur, and philanthropist. She made her fortune by developing and marketing a hugely successful line of beauty and hair products for Black women. She also taught and trained Black women in order to help them build their own successful businesses.
Most people think that Madam Walker was the first female self-made millionaire on beauty products, which is not exactly correct, because Miss Walker used to work for
Annie Malone, also an African-American businesswoman, inventor, and philanthropist. In the first 3 decades of the 20th century, she created a variety of hair care treatments. In 1902, Malone and her assistant sold her unique brand of hair care products door to door. In 1905, Madam C.J. Walker became an agent of hers.
Madam Walker was one of her agents, but Madam Walker became more successful as Miss Porro had financial difficulties with taxes. Being the first Black to really make that much money, the United States government had no mercy.
By 1917, Miss Malone opened Porro College in St. Louis, which was dedicated to the study and teaching of Black cosmetology. By the 1920s, Annie Malone had become a multimillionaire and president of the St. Louis Colored Orphans Home. With her help, they bought a facility which has been renamed in her honor, the Annie Malone Children and Family Service Center, that is still in existence today.
Kids come in and say, yeah, Miss Walker invented the pressing comb, and Miss Walker didn't. These tools were in France in the late 1700s before Miss Walker came on the scene. But she did have the business savvy to take the pressing comb, widen the teeth to an already existing product, so it would work for her market, which was black women with, more aggressive, more kinky hair.